Okay, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment of the Township of Franklin has been provided. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Betterbid.
Here.
Ms. Graham.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. McCracken. Mr. Rich.
Here.
Mr. Shepherd. Mr. Caldwell.
Here.
Mr. Rosenthal.
Here.
Mr. Reese. Mr. O'Connell.
Here.
Chairman Thomas.
Here. We have the minutes of the special meeting, November 15th, 2012. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Mr. Betterbid.
Yes.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell.
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
Yes. Vouchers, December retainer, litigation, E&J Equities, Kings Row Homes, 785 New Brunswick Road. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Hearings, New Jersey Buddhist Vihara, docket ZBA 12-00020. Applicant seeks a conditional use variance and site plan for a new three-story worship building at 4299 Route 27, Princeton, Block 5.02, lots 77 and 78, in the RR5 zone, carried to January 17th, 2013. No further notification. That will not be heard. Dial Enterprises, docket ZBA 08-00053. Applicant is looking to amend the previously approved use variance with a site plan. The change would be to face the building in the opposite direction at 1400 Hamilton Street, Somerset, block 89.03, lot 3.01 in the M2 zone, also carried to January 17th, 2013, with no further notification needed. And that, of course, was a question asked of that applicant many times. I guess now they agree on it. Kenneth and Jill Millman, docket ZBA 12-00025. Applicants requesting permission for an 8 by 19 foot first floor addition at 61 First Street, block 465, lot 1 in the R20 zone.
Mr. Chairman, this matter only requires one new, very technical variance. The applicant was putting up the addition is going to be within 100 feet of the transmission line. The house structure itself is already within 100 feet, and that structure is going to be closer to the transmission line than the addition. So it's extremely technical. They've also, and I'm sure they'll testify tonight, that there's two existing, one with the house, which there's nothing you can do. The one that they can do something about is the shed. They are going to move the shed to conform. So we have an extremely technical variance tonight.
Otherwise, the addition itself.
Yes.
is all-
Yes, meets everything
Yeah.
else.
Second, Donald Whitelaw for the applicants.
Use the mic.
Microphone.
Donald White.
Yep.
Turn it on.
Gotta turn it on.
It's always exciting.
Donald Whitelaw for the applicants, Ken and Jill Millman. As Mr. Dominic says, this is a relatively technical application. We're seeking approval basically under hardship guidelines for variance to put an addition. It will come out the front of the home. There is a shed that is non-conforming that can be moved and will be moved to be complying. There's an existing non-conformity on the western side of the property on a side setback. So those are the variance requests. We did have an opportunity to review the professional reports. We can comply with most of the comments in the reports. I'll ask Mr. Millman to go through them with me. There are a couple of questions I have for the board and a couple of waivers asked for in regards to those concerns of the engineer. With that, I'd ask that Mr. Millman be sworn.
Okay, sir, if you raise your right hand, solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, and just identify yourself now that you're on the record.
Kenneth J. Millman, Jr.
Okay.
Mr. Millman, you're here for asking for hardship
hold the
variance.
mic, Donald.
Yeah,
You gotta
really-
hold the microphone
It's unfortunate,
close to
but
the lips. Has to be recorded.
there you go.
You're asking for a variance to put an addition on your house, is that correct?
Correct.
And you understand the variances that we're asking for based upon my description?
I do.
Would you describe briefly for the board the nature of your home and the kind of addition you're seeking to put on?
Okay, briefly, the nature of my home is a 3-bedroom ranch, 1.5 bath, and we're looking to extend the master bedroom to give us a little more living space, as well as convert the half bath to a full bath, again, for a little more comfort in our home.
And you are adjoining the Texas Eastern Pipeline, is that correct?
Correct.
And your proposed addition doesn't go to that side, it goes to the front, correct?
Correct.
You understand there is a setback requirement from that pipeline, correct?
I do.
And you understand there's a slight encroachment with this addition into that setback?
Correct, I understand.
But your house is much closer already, is that right?
Exactly. The existing structure is closer than the addition will be.
All right, with that, I'd like to take Mr. Millman through the engineer's report of November 7th. The first comment is asking for a property survey signed and sealed. You actually had a survey performed a
Let's
few
put
months
it
back.
this way, when you read it, is there anything that's a problem?
The one issue is on number 6, showing the spot grades, some topographic information. We would request that you allow your construction officials to work with the applicant and not have to provide that technical, just from a cost standpoint of running the topographic.
Well, you don't have to run topo. You can have the surveyor come out and just give a few little spot grades. That the engineer is going to require that to make sure that the drainage is appropriate and it's not draining inappropriately into the neighbor's yard. So you don't have to go out and do full topo, but if he comes out and does a couple shots and says, you know, this is elevation here, this is elevation, so that they know where it's going to be. I'm just saying that's
Right.
that's something that we generally do not waive, because for everyone else who comes in has to do that.
Fair enough.
It's not full topo though.
That was essentially it. The only other question I had was on number 8, was whether that was applicable to this level application.
If it is, it is. If it's not, it's whatever the ordinance requires. That's just standard language that's put in.
Okay. Then regarding outside agencies, we do have a response from the DNR. I have sent to Somerset County Planning Board, waiting for a response from them.
They've responded via email that it's NA.
Okay. We have the Health Department about citing the well on the survey, which is on the survey, so we'll submit that. I did not submit to police and fire, but can do so if necessary. And like I said, the health inspector's report we can comply with, and I think that is all.
Okay, any questions?
Power lines, did you get approval from them? I noticed in one of the reports that you're going to try to get approval for that?
Well, we can try to get approval. They have approval for the, I guess, the batting cage that they have approval for from Texas Eastern. But we're going to move the shed off that right away.
What came first? What came first, the house or the lines that go across?
I'm not sure, to be honest. The house was built in the early 50s, and I can't answer that.
Other questions? Anybody in the audience? Is there anyone who'd like to make a comment or ask a question concerning the application? Okay, any other board questions, comments? I think, everybody has their initial feelings concerning the pipeline and everything, but this particular area has many, many houses. It's something, I guess, that's not easily avoidable. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the application conditioned upon the removal of one of the sheds I guess that would be the side yard shed to make it conforming.
I'll second.
Mr. Betterbid?
Yes.
Ms. Grauman?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes. Okay, good luck.
Thank you very much.
And the second application, Gloria Jackson, ZBA 12-00024. Applicant is requesting to construct a 14 by 28-foot two-story addition to the rear of the home at 16 Neptune Court, Somerset, Block 360, Lot 13, in the R20 zone. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Gloria Jackson. Okay, we'll have you sworn in.
Okay, I think it should still be on, yeah? Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, they want to construct an addition. There are two new variants that are required. One is a rear yard variance where they're supposed to have 50. The existing is 47.43, and they want to have 33.68. And the lot coverage where 15% is max, and they want to go up to a little bit higher at 15.5. And also, there are two existing variances that if the board wishes to grant. And the lot area is supposed to be 20, it's existing at a little over 15, and the rear yard setback for a couple of sheds, it's 5-yard minimum, it's 4 feet existing, so.
Ms. Jackson, this is your opportunity to tell the board why it is that you want to do this, why it is that you need the scale that you're asking for, those kind of things. And you got to do it into the microphone.
Okay.
All right.
I have several reasons why I hoping that the variance will be favorable for me. One reason is I have
Hold the mic up to your lips.
Hello.
There you go.
Better. I have several reasons. One reason is I have my mother living with me, whom she's had a hip replacement and 2 knee replacements within a year's time. And I need the space so she can use the stationary bike and her treadmill. And another reason, I adopted 2 brothers, and I need the space for that reason. And also, I'm a foster mother, and I have a capacity of 2 foster children, and I presently have 1 foster child with me, so I need a space.
Have you spoken to any of your neighbors?
Oh,
any-
they've all been notified.
Do you know of any having any issues with it?
I don't see any of them here, so.
Okay, we'll hear from you then. All right, if you want to speak. Okay. Do you believe that you need all the space that you're asking for?
Yes, I do.
Is there any other place on the house where you could put this addition besides where you're proposing it?
I probably could do it on the side of the house without going through the variance, but I have a fireplace on that side, and it wouldn't really give me the space that I need.
So what you're saying, it would be a hardship if you had to remove the fireplace to put it on that side instead of putting it, because removing that requires an extensive amount of construction versus just bumping out the house.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
One of the things that we typically do with the resolution is to ensure that there are future restrictions put on it, such as any additional space cannot be rented separately, and the house would always remain as a single-family house. You would... those-
Not a problem with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Well, which side is the fireplace? As you face the house,
To my left.
to your left. And there's no room on the right.
That's the side of the driveway. No,
Right,
there's
yeah.
no room at all.
There's no
No.
room at all, right. And it's not a pie-shaped lot, but it's an uneven-shaped lot, so that I think that even if you were to attempt to remove that wall and build out, you'd still probably have a setback problem because of the shape of the lot.
Yeah, I think the lot and the way that it goes on Neptune and the way the orientation of the house to Neptune kind of limits their building envelope. If Neptune was like this and they would have a much bigger place, and you can see from the
Yeah,
building
the
envelope.
way the house is
Yeah.
set, which creates a certain kind of hardship.
Yeah.
And I guess you would say that if there were side yard variances involved, that it might be, there might be more impact from a side yard variance than from the proposed rear yard variance on neighbors.
It would be much closer to the neighbor on that side than any neighbor
side.
in the rear, yeah.
So the better location because of the neighbors and the positioning of the house,
Yeah, because you're gonna
shape
be,
of the property is probably where it's proposed.
yeah, because you're gonna be almost 34 feet from the rear yard, irregardless of what the actual setback is. If you put it on either side, you're gonna be 10, 15 feet from the side yard. So you're 30, 35 feet from an adjacent property versus 10 or 15 if you put it on the side.
See, I don't have a problem with the 0.5% coverage. That's really minimum. And depending on what the neighbors say in terms of the impact, because the issue has to do
Yep.
with, I think, really your rear neighbor. It's doable.
Have we discussed moving the sheds?
What?
There's really no place to move them.
I don't know where,
I don't know where you can move them.
Well, they can't come forward, they're only a couple of feet, right?
yeah, I mean, if they were gonna be conform, I think they're 1 or 2 feet out, yeah.
All right, maybe it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 5 feet, they're 4 feet.
And if
They're
if
both
you
little
take a look
garden
at where
sheds.
they are, really,
Hmm.
you can't tell.
Right. Did our discussion stimulate anything else that you can think of to tell us?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, we'll open then to the public. Is there anybody who would like to ask questions or make a statement to the board? Come on up to the podium, please. And what we will do is swear you in so you can ask questions or make a statement, or a combination of both.
You do have to flip the 2 switches there on the mic to turn it on, though. If you can, I think both, if you want to take one of the mics
Yeah,
up on the
why don't you
table,
take
both of the
one?
mics on the table are, I believe, Pat'll make sure. Yeah, that's on now.
Okay, if you'll raise your right hand for me, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you can state your name and your address, please?
But speak.
Speak into the microphone.
Sorry. My name is Del Ashby. I live at 7 Marigold Lane.
And where is that in relation to this house, if you can tell us? Are you on the side or behind it?
Behind it.
Okay.
That's
On
a
a
blue
diagonal.
house, it's a blue house behind, right behind it?
No, the house next to that.
Okay.
We have an aerial, don't we?
Okay.
Okay, so,
Into the mic.
sorry. My question is the size of the addition. It seems rather large to me. as it is now, that house seems to be set back more than the other houses on that street. Like the neighbor that is diagonally across from me this way, her house is set back really far. And this particular house seems to be set back much closer than all the other houses in that line. So much so that sometimes when the children are in the yard playing, it seems like they're like almost like right on top of me. I mean, it's not that much distance. And so that was my concern. And also, if this structure were to be built, is there going to be a fence put up or anything? That's another question I had.
Is that something that would make a difference for you? A fence?
I think so.
You're talking about a board-on-board fence?
A board-on-board, yes.
So that would be, for purposes of privacy is what you're talking about?
Exactly.
Would that be limited to across the back or
Excuse me?
across the rear of the property? The fence? In other words, are we going to consider doing the whole?
Well, if, I don't know why we would do the whole.
You just want to separate your property from hers, right?
Make it
Exactly.
clear, that's all.
Exactly.
Yeah, she just wants the rear.
Just across the back with
Would-
board-on-board
Right,
fence.
Would that create a big hardship for you?
Well, there is a fence there already. I don't know if she's talking about something higher or what, but there is a fence all the way through my whole backyard.
There is?
What type of fence is it?
It's like a wooden
Chain link?
Board-on-board, a wooden fence?
You got to talk into the mic,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
It's a wooden fence, and it's all the way in the back of my whole yard. Now, as far as privacy, it's not a privacy fence, but it is a separation from my yard versus the person behind me, but she's not directly behind me. She's on the side of my backyard.
Is there a fence? I don't remember there being.
There's a brown wooden fence.
Is it
on-
one of those little ones?
Yes, yes. It's
Okay.
not a privacy fence,
not
it's
a-
just a fence,
Yeah, I
probably
think,
to
I think what your neighbor is talking about is a you really
Yeah.
like a privacy fence that
Yeah.
clearly delineates, right? That's what you would like to have,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Would that be a hardship for you? Is that something that you could agree to as a condition of this application?
Well, I'm going to say this. The neighbor that's directly behind me, we're very good neighbors, we're good friends, and he has intentions on putting a privacy fence. So that would cover my whole backyard. So, I don't,
Do you know when he's planning?
no, I don't. I have no idea.
Because I would think that typically what happens at meetings like this is that when a neighbor has a legitimate concern, which she does, if you look at it, your house is set back further than the other houses, it's legitimate for her to say that she wants that privacy fence. Typically, the board would listen to that, and it's a reasonable request and would say that that would have to be put up. They may be willing to say, given the weather, that it has to be up by April 15th or April 30th because of the weather. So you would have to work with your neighbor that you're saying is going to put up the fence to make sure it's up by that point, and if it's not, then you would have to put it up before we would allow you to put the addition, or we may make the condition that if it's not up by that point, then you can't put the addition up until the fence is up. The board can talk about that, but typically, for reasonable requests like that, the board imposes that condition.
Now,
For
there
the-
was,
oh,
go ahead.
For the area that from my backyard to hers, is not a very big space. So I don't have any problems if she needs privacy to put up a fence from her property line. I'm not talking about directly behind me because she doesn't live directly behind me. She lives like a side of me, but in the backyard of, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like her house is not right behind me.
Yes,
Her house
so-
is like over here.
Right,
I'm
catty
here.
corner.
So I'll put up a fence in that space.
Is that something that would be okay for you?
I'm just trying to think because when she say I'm not directly behind her, but part of her property, if I sit in my backyard, I can look right into her patio door.
Yeah, but I think what she's saying is that if she put up a privacy fence
Yeah, let's have them come on up.
in such a way that was
Maybe
limited.
you can look at the aerial, and she can point out where she wants the fence, and
Okay.
that's probably the best thing to do.
Could you, that mic will slip out. Can you take the mic and come up here? It'll slip
Oh,
right out of
yeah, just
there.
pull
so
it
you
out.
Stay on the mic, and I'd like to, if you'd please come up here, and maybe you can point out your house.
Sure.
Okay, so this is the aerial photograph. And I could be wrong, but I think that's the subject house now.
The one with the blue
Got
dot.
the dot.
Okay,
Got the dot.
and so which one would be your house?
One in the middle.
This is Neptune?
Yeah,
Yes.
So then I would assume this is mine.
so
To the left or to the right?
it's
So it's to the left?
If this is Marigold. If this is her property, I'm not directly behind her. I'm on the diagonal. So I guess this is my house here.
So if she had a fence that just covered this area between you and her, in other words, not necessarily going all the way across to her neighbor behind, would that satisfy you? Would that satisfy your concern?
It satisfy my concern for the first floor. We're talking about a two-story addition.
Okay, so you're objecting to the second story, the second story as well?
In the sense that, like I said, the house seems to be much closer. I don't know, maybe it's just my perception. You know, I'm not sure. And, you know, it's like, I already have a neighbor here that is, you know, close, and whose windows, you know, I can see into, and then the neighbor on this side, you know, whose windows I can see into, and now we want to have another neighbor here whose windows, I mean, it's...
What's the distance, Vince? Do we know the distance from her house to this house? I mean, on the overhead,
Well, she's the house,
looks kind of
if we're
far.
on Neptune, she's diagonal to the left.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we, 56, she's probably maybe 90 feet, 100 feet away.
That's a long way, I mean.
I don't know, but when you look at here, it looks like if you go like on a straight angle to the house behind, and then if you go on a diagonal to mine, it seems like mine is closer than the one,
Because this is,
Not really,
I
No.
don't think so.
not really.
okay.
I mean, you are 90 feet away, and, I mean,
And that house
I mean, I
has
think
an
her-
addition also.
Um,
That house has an addition, so maybe that's why she feels that she's close to me, because that house that she lives in, there's an addition also.
Right, I do have an addition.
yeah, but it's still 90 feet away. I mean,
yeah, it's
quite a
it's
distance.
90, 95 feet away if you scale it, because we have the distance of 56 feet from the corner to the cul-de-sac, and it's almost twice that distance, so it's close to 95 feet from the back corner of the, and if you add the extra 12 feet, you have to add the 12 feet, so, you know, 80
I mean, with
feet.
90 feet, a normal, ordinary board-on-board fence should do it. I mean, that should do it. I mean, I don't think she should have to do anything more, because 90 feet is a good distance just by itself.
you could be careful to keep your blinds down.
The two-story addition is within the height requirement,
Yes.
so it is an R20 zone, so it's,
The main issue then is really the setback variance,
Right.
so.
Have the other neighbors complained at all
Not on
in the back of you?
back, behind, or either side. I'm very close to all my neighbors.
except me.
Except Terry.
Well, I don't even know you. I
Exactly,
just see
and-
you in passing. I think one of my boys go to school with my son. One is in a grade above or below. But you're fairly new in the area, right?
What do you call new?
I'm here.
Into the,
I knew the lady that lived in the house that you
Right.
brought, so that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've been there 6 years.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
time goes by quickly when you're having fun, I guess.
Do you have any other concerns?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Okay, very good.
let's see what we can do.
Thank you, thank you.
There's no other public that wants to speak, then we will close that portion. Is there any other question from the board members?
You can leave the mic out if you want.
That's
No big deal.
It says here that third quarter taxes are delinquent. Have you brought them up to date?
My taxes automatically get taken out of my mortgage. So I don't pay I pay them indirectly. So it's all to do with the mortgage. They
What I
automatically
would
take it out.
suggest that you do is contact your mortgage servicer and make sure that the taxes are current, because according to law and the ordinance, you can't, the approval is subject to everything being current by way of taxes.
We wouldn't give you a permit if your taxes weren't current.
Well, it's the mortgage company.
Yeah, so I would
automatically pays that.
contact.
So call the
your
mortgage
servicer.
company.
Tell
Okay.
them
Tell
To
them
get
to
on the
taxes.
Because if the mortgage company made a mistake, you're responsible for it.
I didn't even know anything about it until she just mentioned it,
Yeah.
that it's delinquent.
Any
But I
other,
will call the mortgage company.
any other board questions?
Vince, do we need to have certain of the, in your memo, you observed the zoning chart must be corrected?
Yeah,
and
there's got to be some corrections on there. We've talked to the architect as far as what needs to be done.
So you'll coordinate that
Yes.
with the applicant?
Yes, we had Mark and I had a conversation with the architect
Okay.
because there were some minor inconsistencies, and they'll correct those.
Any other questions?
No question.
Would anybody like to construct a
Laura, go to it.
motion?
I move that, I guess because of the peculiar shape of the lot and the way the house is situated on it, I think that this probably qualifies for a C1 variance, and I would move that we approve the application subject to the applicant's agreement that the house will remain one family, that no portion of it will ever be rented out, and that a privacy fence be erected prior to the construction of, or at the same time as the construction of the addition, that would give your neighbor on Marigold adequate privacy.
It would be helpful for us if you required it to be constructed prior to us issuing a permit.
Oh.
Because what will typically happen is, if we say prior, then they'll build it, maybe the fence isn't quite up, and we'll be waiting to give a
Does she need a
CO.
permit for the fence?
Excuse me?
Does she need a permit for the fence?
Yes, just needs a zoning permit for the fence.
Oh, okay, fine. Then
However-
prior to the permit.
Yeah.
Do you recommend a height for the fence?
I would say it should be 6 feet. It should be a 6-foot board on board. That's your typical privacy fence.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay,
Do you have to, excuse me, do you have to mention the existing variances? Do you have to mention that in the resolution?
Yeah, I think that's incorporated. Pat will have that in there.
Okay.
Mr. Betterbid,
4.
Ms. Grauman,
Yes?
Mr. Johnson. 4. Mr. McCracken. Oh, he's not here. All right, my apologies. Mr. Rich.
4.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
And
welcome.
we will now entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.